Okay, here we go, guys. So now I'm going to take you on a slow lap here around the Barcelona circuit. I'm going to tell you all the little tricks around this track to get the masterful qualifying lap done. And this time also, I'm going to include some of the wind stuff, because wind as well, I haven't talked about it so far, but it's a huge part of doing a qualifying lap. So I'm going to talk about that today. So I'm going down the main straight here. On the main straight, because the car is completely on the ground towards the end of the straight, you always have to look for the best place to drive, because the more hitting you have, the more speed you're scrubbing. So on the straight, you look for 2 meters there, 2 meters there. You look for the best place where you have the least hitting on the floor, least scrubbing, because that gives you the best top speed. So coming down here then, you brake at about 80, big braking, down to 4th gear, and then you have to take the speed through. Take the speed through, you just hug the inside here, you don't go on the curb, because it's too high, so it'll throw you off. And then this next part, the exit of that first one is dependent on managing to get this second one flat. So you can only go as far out so as to still make this second corner flat out. And this now you can go all the way to the outside here, because this next part is going to be easy flat. And it's just easy flat. And here through this corner though, it's important to be so smooth on the steering wheel, like open up as much as you can, because the more steering you have, the unnecessary, it's more scrubbing. So try and open as much as possible, run it out, let the car flow. So then you get back here. Now I'm going to start talking about the wind. This corner actually I don't know much about. I'm not very good at this corner. Let's skip this one. Let's go to the next one. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm feeling much better now again. So this next corner, so the wind, it's coming from the straight diagonally. So going in here, you've got the wind kind of from the side, so it doesn't have too much of an impact. Into here though, you see there's a lot of black marks on the inside there. It's because you're always locking up the front, because the track kind of drops away. So going into here, what you need is more engine braking. So you go click up on engine braking here, and what engine braking does is, in the beginning of braking, it makes no difference, because the dominant thing on braking in the rear is going to be the brakes, which are like so much more powerful than engine braking. But as you're getting to the entry and you're releasing the brakes, the engine braking becomes more and more dominant. And when you get to the very end and you completely release the brakes, the engine braking is the only thing left. So it's like this little handbrake that's left on the rear. And it's like a rally car, you know, it's this little handbrake that is just stepping out the rear and helping you turn the corner. And so for this corner, and to stop that inside locking at the very end, you just ramp up that engine brake, and it just helps you put more braking on the rear, less on the front, gives you this handbrake to turn the corner. So that's what you do here, just for this corner. And now, look at the wind. So you got the wind straight from the front now. So in this corner, because you got the wind straight from the front, you can get on the power much earlier, and you put the power down, and you imagine like a usual day of wind will be like 40 kilometers an hour wind. You know, that's going to be a medium amount of wind. 40 kilometers an hour. Here in this corner, you're doing 80 kilometers an hour. So 80 plus 40 in terms of wind speed for the car is 120. So you can imagine that's 50% more downforce at that moment in time. So it's a huge difference. So on the exit here, it's like you have so much more grip, and you need to know and learn how to use it. So just you can go on the throttle so much earlier, so much more aggressive out of here, and you just bomb it. You bomb it, you can upshift earlier and just really hammer it down. And then you get to the next part here. Again, here it's about doing the shortest distance. So you go to the inside to do shorter distance around that bend, but you do have to come back out quickly so that you straight line it again for braking, because braking, it's always important, remember, to straight line it so you're not wasting any potential in lateral grip, you know, using it all for the longitudinal deceleration. So then here, it's a really short braking. You got to decrease that engine braking again, because in this corner now you have a lot of oversteer usually on the entry, so you don't want any extra engine braking. So you go back up on the engine braking to reduce it and go back to the standard level. And then here again, very difficult. You got this huge oversteer on entry, then you massive understeer afterwards. So you just have to manage to get the apex, and then it's really difficult because you got this huge understeer. You got the wind now, remember, from the back. So coming out here, first of all, you got understeer mid-corner. Then the wind hits you from the back, so you have a lot less grip coming out here. And at the same time, you have that really ugly sausage curb coming. So it's super difficult to time it right, but it's so crucial because it's uphill, so you can lose so much time. The exit is important. So somehow between understeer mid, big oversteer due to wind on the exit, you still got to try to feed it in and put that power down and put it down in the right way so that you just miss this sausage curb when you're going up there. Because if you hit the sausage curb, that's horrible for it's going to put the car all over the place and you lose a lot of speed. So now you come to this corner. Now, I'm very, very sorry. I don't think it's completely flat in qualifying. I think it's like a tiny, tiny, tiny lift. I might be mistaken. Maybe it's flat. Anyways, tiny lift. and you just have to open the corner as much as possible. The exit is completely blind. You don't see the exit, as you can see. You don't see where the curb is. So you go by memory. You completely go by memory, and you kind of always pray. You're like, oh shit, I hope I make it, I hope I make it. And then on the exit, you'll see if you make it. And if you do run out too wide, it's pretty horrible. You lose a lot of time because it's really bumpy. So you got to kind of stay here on the red, because that's where the best grip is, and that's how far you can run out. Okay, then you hit DRS. Hit the DRS, there we go. Bomb it down this straight. Now here you have the biggest straight line braking load for the lap. And so what you do is you move the brake balance forwards, because you're going to be braking much harder for longer in a straight line. The braking on the front has more potential than all those medium speed corners, and you have no steering. You know, you're really braking straight for such a long time, so much more potential in the front. So you move the brake balance forward 2%, makes a huge difference in braking. If you wouldn't do that, you would be locking up the rears massively. Locking up the rears causes overheating, so then you're going in with oversteer, you're going to have less traction because you got the rear tires much hotter in braking, and then you're going to lose out for the whole last sector because you have one sequence after another. The rear tires will never cool down. You're always going to have more temperature. So this braking is crucial to get that brake balance right and to not overuse the rear tires. So brake balance 2% forwards, DRS, release the DRS of course before braking. You brake at 80, brake down all the way third gear, and then I mean, this is pretty standard. You've got to hit the apex. If you don't quite hit it, not a problem. Hit the apex here. Remember now, wind from the back right at the moment. So it's a horrible exit here. You got the rear tires a little bit hotter anyways from braking, and now you got the wind from the back. Horrible. So you've got no grip. You know, you're all over the place. But you still got to be a little bit careful, because if you unnecessarily put too much wheel spin in on the exit now, wheel spin causes rear temperature, and that's going to kill you for the next 5 corners. So yes, you want to be aggressive, but with the wind in the back, you've got to be a little bit careful, not put too much wheel spin, so as to keep those temperatures tiny bit under control, because it's going to give you so much more grip for the next 5 corners, and it can be a difference of 1.5 tenths for the next 5 corners. So you just got to keep that in mind on the exit here. So yes, try and be hard, avoid the apex curb to get more grip. So straight and straight line the steering wheel. When you're on the traction and trying to go for it, remove any lateral load, so you go all of it longitudinal, same as braking. So really make sure your steering wheel is dead straight to put the traction down, power down, and then turn as late as possible into here. And here, maximum attack on the curb. The compromise is if you take too much, you bottom out, and it throws you off. So you've got to remember exactly the point where you have to hit that curb, and it's just one tire over the white and red markings. It also depends a little bit how low your car is, but usually it's exactly one tire over the red and right where I am now, so you just touch the green. That's the optimum place, because it's so important here to keep this flat, but stay as far left as possible to open up the next corner, which is really long, because if you just 1 meter more to the left now here on the entry will give you like 5 kilometers an hour more on the entry, which is a huge difference. So this positioning here, so crucial for the next corner. Still, the wind from the back, remember now going into this, So it's a horrible thing to have the wind in the back. You're going to be all over the place with the car, because it's going to be less wind speed on the car, so less downforce by 40 kilometers an hour. Huge difference. You know, you go in here with like 130, minus 40, so the car is thinking you're only doing 90 kilometers an hour, so massively less downforce. So here you got like huge oversteer usually going in. Again, you need to be careful not to overheat the rear tires. Keep it clean, because you still have 3 corners left, so you need to keep it clean. Here you can run it out in the middle, your 4th gear here, 4th gear, and then kind of stop the car a little bit and chop it back in, and then on the power, you know, maximum attack. You're going to be getting the wind from the side now, so the grip is increasing. Then run it out all the way to the sand here, but then come back quickly, because in turn-in you want to be back on the tarmac for the turn-in. Otherwise you're going to be losing grip out there. This corner really difficult, because like off camber, it's pretty horrible. So you just got to take that inside curb, try and carry the speed in. You can go pretty wide here, but it's really important for the next one. This is, I think, is 4th gear. The next one, 3rd gear, you've got to be back out here, because you've got to open up this, because it's so tight and so important on the exit to get a good run. So here again, brake balance, I'm not really sure actually what you have to do on the brake balance here. You could, you've got it forward for that hairpin before. You've just gone 1 click backwards here for this section, because it's always in lateral braking. You're always braking and steering, so the front has less potential. So it's always like 1 or 2% rearwards from that straight line braking into the big hairpin before. Okay, so then 3rd gear, you chop over the curb here, and now the exit is super crucial. You can sometimes touch the yellow a little bit, depending on how much grip you have. And then this now, you got to power down as quickly as possible. Remember again, wind, dead straight from the front here. So you've got an incredible amount of grip here. It's like you're only doing like 80 kilometers an hour, but you've got 40 kph wind, so you got 120 wind speed kilometers per hour in the car. Super incredible amount of downforce. So hammer it down, third gear, upshift early to keep the traction clean, and then all the way on the green here, and just take the speed there. And this is easy now, easy flat. Easy flat, easy flat. Of course, make sure you still get the upshifting perfectly spot on, because you can always lose a little bit on those upshifts. So make sure you get the lights spot on, get the upshifting spot on, and that's the end of the lap. And the brake is so damn hard. Brake is so damn hard. Can't do that at the moment. Sorry.